Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me on it is our fourth episode of Unlock and Learn with me, Director of Sales, Talia Lockard at Hostiva. And I am very excited that I have my first attendee panelist, not talking with myself today, even though it's my favorite thing, Debi Steigerwald, who is the marketing guru of my dreams that currently at Gather Vacation Rentals. Debi, tell us about you.
I am Debi Steigerwald. I currently am SVP of Marketing at Gather, which is a luxury vacation rental property manager located in several states. Prior to that, I had the immense pleasure of working with Talia at Rented, and I also was over marketing at Explory. And I launched into the vacation rental world via Vacasa in 2015. And obviously, we had explosive growth in the many years that I was there. So I've been on the manager side, the vendor side, back to the manager side. So I have a wide kind of experience in all aspects of marketing across all these various different segmentations of the industry.
Yeah, it's awesome. Debbie, you just have just so much industry knowledge in here. And one thing that, I talked to you that I think was important for us to note is the vendor versus manager, right?
Mhm.
You bring marketing and sales, but how you operate so differently on that mindset. And you coming from very large managers and very large vendors. And uh, gonna secret I've never told you. I remember before Debbie actually started at Rented, we would always like see each other at conferences. She'd be the person we like have coffee and we like randomly talk. She was like, "You were the one I wanted to know," and then you started Rented, and I was like, oh man, I was like, we get to become best friends. So it's been a great journey. So today we said we were going to talk about quite a few things, right? And we're going to
Mhm.
narrow it down. We really wanted to focus on some actionable items and things that whether or not you are a single family homeowner who's managing for yourself, or you
Mhm.
manage 5 or 30 properties, or you are a large property manager, right? How can you do all of these things and use maybe GTP AI assistance to help you? Uh,
Mhm.
as well, because unfortunately, no matter what we do with software and GPT, it all is going to still require a human element.
Oh.
Um, so first is, we're going to talk about mastering marketing on OTAs, such a
Mhm.
big undertaking that could take an 8-hour call. And that includes optimizing your listings, things you can do within your software, without your software, some strategic pricing and reviews things you can do as well. Debbie and I worked at Rented. We've come from a very, very large pricing background. So this is our wheelhouse, so to say.
Mhm.
um, there. And how you can use GPT and AI and other features to help you come up with a strategy. And whether or not that strategy is how do I retarget to my clients on social media, which is another thing we will talk about. It can tell you and help you what to do. So I want to
Mhm.
get started with, what does mastering marketing on OTAs mean to you, Debbie?
Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest things about OTAs is there's a lot of known unknowns. It's one of my favorite things. So we all know that they have very sophisticated algorithms and how they position their search results. They have a larger budget for testing than probably a huge percentage of all property managers' combined annual revenue. So they know what they're doing and they're testing things all the time. So the best that we can do to master how we are marketing on OTAs is follow their recommendations and try to take methodical steps for every unit that you're creating a listing for. Primarily, we're talking about Airbnb and Verbo today, but these principles also go across other channels with varying capabilities that they give to us as a manager or a host of how to actually help optimize. But Airbnb and Verbo have the most robust, and there's a couple of things that everybody should be doing for all of your listings to ensure that you have the best, highest visibility and results in their SERPs, which is their search ranking, but also that you are capturing what we call the billboard effect. So we
Mm-hmm.
all know there's more and more savvy travelers. They know if they book Unit A on Airbnb, they're going to pay a certain percentage in fees. And so there is a huge trend of and growing of those shoppers who get to the bottom of their funnel and they make their decision and then they go find book it direct. So we
If
need,
it's a book direct, right? And I
yeah,
think
make it.
that was one call out that you and I kind of talked, we talk about the billboard and brand visibility. I think this is
Mhm.
kind of a very important part we talked about is
Yes,
if you are a manager or host and you are on Airbnb, make sure you actually have your brand in the hosted by or the managed by. We see
absolutely. Yeah.
lots of
Mhm. Yeah.
large national property managers, whether or not you have 30 or you have 500, where it says hosted by Talia Lockard,
Mhm.
or hosted by Jane Doe. We're not, that name is not easily to go bookable,
Yeah.
right? But it says hosted by Hostiva or Gather Vacation Rentals or ABC Property Management. It's very easy for that person to turn around and go Google
Yep.
that what
Absolutely.
what that is. And so that's your name, the brand name. So it's not only just putting it right there, right? I think you had
Mhm.
said putting your name 3 times within your description. The
Yeah.
same thing with that property name, how
Mhm.
important it is for property names.
Yeah. You're trying to reinforce two things. One is you should always have a unique name for each property that you have listed on your own website if you have one or on your OTAs. That unique name should be memorable and easy to search, and not have a lot of competition in Google for that. So if you have like Debi's Dreamy Beach House, you want to be sure that Debi's Dreamy Beach House is in your headline. So the headline on your OTA, whether it's Airbnb, you only have 50 characters. On Verbo, you have up to 80, so you have more space. So you want your name of your property as well as some differentiator in there. So like um, ocean hot tub views or something like
Mhm.
that after your name. So you want the name of the unit to be unique and memorable, and in your headline. Then you want to reiterate the name as you go through your description. So, welcome to Dreamy Beach House by
Mhm.
Gather or by whatever your brand name is. And you're reinforcing the brand name at least twice throughout the copy so that as the user is reading, they see the unit name, you're mentioning the unit name multiple times through the description, and important in captions. So some OTAs have captions, some are harder to find where the user has to like click into the carousel. But you want to always push your captions out there and include your brand name and include your unit marketing name. Those are the two keywords you want the user to be able to find you if they're trying to go book direct. And even if they're not and they're going to book directly on the OTA, you want them to still know it's
Mhm.
not an Airbnb, it's a Gather vacation rental, or it's a whatever your property name is. So it's really important to
Mhm.
reinforce.
And a real life example of this, I went to the hair salon this weekend. It's like the second time I've seen this lady, right? And she was kind of asking, so you do like Airbnb stuff? I'm like, yeah, we do vacation rentals. And she was like, do you do it in Galveston? She was like, I stay in this property every year. It's called No Regrets. I book it on Verbo. She told
Mhm.
me everything about it. And I went, and it is managed by a property manager,
Mhm.
right? And now in there, it didn't say hosted by the property manager.
Mhm.
I knew to go right click the image and Google search the image and look
Yeah,
for where this image is so to go
yeah.
see the book direct. But these are just kind of just very, very important things. And then the keywords, someone could go Google Debi's dream house,
Hmm.
Verbo,
Hmm.
Oregon,
Yeah.
right? And that's going to help bring it. This is all for SEO and search as well.
Yeah.
So these are really, really important things that we see in there. And, I think that could also kind of, when I'm talking about like, putting your branding in your name, this can go to your book direct websites as well. Because what I see a lot is about us pages. Like if you are a property manager and you have a book direct and a branded website, make sure you're talking about who you are, right?
Absolutely.
And putting that human approach still into that. So a couple of things that were really interesting to me that we talked about in our practice session, I want to jump in is some how to optimize a listing with mapping photos on Airbnb and Verbo.
Yeah.
This was, I wish we would, seen my jaw drop when Debbie told me this yesterday, because someone who came from a platform, I had no idea.
Mhm. Kind of new features. So both Verbo and Airbnb have started allowing the host or manager to map photos to specific rooms.
Hmm.
So this from a benefit of the user or the guest on those platforms, they can see it more like a tour. So we've tested this out and done a couple of different things with it, and ultimately, here's my recommendation. This is something, no PMS that I know of allows you to do this. You have to log into the listing in your portal, and they make it pretty easy. They're using some AI, so like they know these are kitchens, they know these are bathrooms, and they give recommended photos. So you could map all of them. I don't recommend that. And the main reason is, as a property manager, like my optimization team spends a lot of time like optimizing the order of the photos so that we're calling out the best features and
That was
amenities.
my job
Yeah.
at Verbo for years, was
Yeah.
calling people and talking about their photo order.
Yeah. I mean, it's very important. And we
It's
know
huge.
span is slow. So we know that we want to get all the goodies in the first, few slides through the carousel for the user. But one of the things that you can do, and this is Airbnb specific, is map one photo to each bedroom. So you have two-bedroom unit, you have a king in the primary, you have a queen in the guest. Map one photo to those bedrooms. And then what happens from the user experience is when they're scrolling through the listing, when it says where you'll sleep, instead of showing an icon of a king bed, you actually see a photograph of the bedroom. So now they're
Mhm.
imagining themselves there. They can see the bedroom for the kids. They can see the bedroom for themselves. It's much better user experience. So don't map all of them because it'll throw off your photo order.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was an example that I wanted to make say because Debbie, when she mentioned this to me, she said, don't map them all because it'll throw off the order. And what I noticed, I was trying to book a vacation rental recently for Mother's Day, and five of them I clicked on, I realized it was like the first 10 photos were the pool, the next 10 were
yeah,
the backyard. I never got to the bedrooms. And truly, even knowing what I know, I got to know, knowing what I know, I got annoyed and went to the next listing
yeah.
because it didn't give me, I have two kids, right? So it gave me nothing about the inside of the house
Mhm.
that was going to be helpful to me. And now I know, like, oh, I think they might have done this mapping wrong.
Yeah.
Also, one thing not to do, right? When
Mhm.
the whole Verbo AI order thing, like that they did really messed up a lot of things, right? So
Yeah.
making sure like AI can help enhance photos and stuff like that. I wouldn't let it choose the order for you because this is still
No.
it's a human
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. So in case people don't know, what Verbo did was a month or so ago said, yay, our AI is going to optimize your photo order and we're going to put them in the best order that our guests want to see, and it's going to increase your conversion rate. And then everybody blew up at them because like there was a picture of the closet as the lead photo. I think it ran for like 2 or 3 days and they turned it off. So more work to do there. I don't doubt that an OTA has enough data to be able to use AI to optimize photo ordering. But I also think it's so personal for so many hosts and managers that I think that they're going to tread really lightly there.
Right, totally. And I think it would be more like for us to think about it as a way is how can we prioritize and work with AI to say like, hey, no matter what, you can choose an order, but a weighted area of, there needs to be a mix and then a flow. Like there's a way that we can train it. And it's, I mean, with
Yeah.
AI, it's all knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. It's just,
Yeah.
it's that simple. We could go on for photos for days, and I have to say, I think that photo order is definitely not taken as seriously as it should be. If you don't have a video tour, your photo order, like someone being able to look through photos to realize if they're going to book a property and be able to read the captions
Mhm.
without going any further is just so, so, so important. You have like 30 seconds for
Yeah.
somebody to want to click more.
If that.
If that,
And like we know, because we do heat mapping on our website, and like we know most of the people, even the people that look at descriptions, are total skimmers. They're just very quickly reading through it. So like you have to tell the story in the photos and they need to be in the right order. And it's super important to highlight for the short attention span, get all your goodies in the first five.
Yeah. So one other thing I want to go lightly on before we pivot to like pricing and reviews, things that we talked about, is you talked about secondary questions.
Yeah,
Um, that
so we are testing and I don't know how much impact this has
And this is
on,
the thing when we say the impact, Debbie and I, I think everyone says how much the algorithms actually get you in visibility, right?
yeah.
So what things can you do to show the OTAs that you care and that
hmm
you're a real person? And we
hmm
think that this could be one of those triggers.
Potentially, and we're testing it right now. So when you look at your listing in your property details in either Airbnb or Verbo, they have this like list of questions now. So
Mhm.
if you're using a PMS, you mark all your amenities and put a ton of information in your PMS, and depending on which one you're using, some of it, all the important things, hopefully make it all to the OTAs. Some of it does not. And so what they do is in the listing itself, you can answer more granular questions like, is your stove, how many burners does your stove have? Is it gas or electric? What's the brand? Is it stainless steel? I don't know.
Mhm.
It seems pretty granular. I don't know if that, but I do know that it signals that you've answered all the questions because they go away and they say, good job. I do think on those questions, the one that is really important is digital nomads. So both Airbnb and Verbo ask about dedicated workspace. And if you have one, does it have a monitor? Does it have a keyboard? Does it have a door? Like, is it in an office per se? Do you have a desk? What facilities are you providing outside of Wi-Fi for somebody who needs to travel and
Mhm.
work? So I do
It's
think,
almost more important now than we thought it was in COVID. And
yeah.
I'm saying that as like, in COVID, like we still traveled and we found places that work for home. Now,
hmm
4 years later, my husband and I are still traveling and working, and we have two
hmm
kids, and we're bringing a babysitter, which
Yeah.
is usually a grandparent. But, but it's very important that if there is not a dedicated workspace, we can't make that workcation happen.
Right.
It has, especially with small kids.
Yeah. I mean, you want to call this out obviously in your description. You want to call it out with your photos and make sure you have
But
photo of
you go
workspaces.
and check that area, basically.
But I do think like the questions that the OTAs are asking about them in more granular detail, they're asking those for a reason. So some subset of their users are looking for these very specific things. And so, of course, the more information you can use to get in front of more eyes, to be included in their search filtering is going to lead to higher positions, more conversions.
Right. And how would in the way that we had kind of said, like AI would kind of form into this, since that's kind of the trend of a lot of things we're talking about, right?
Very
Like,
much the trend.
is help let GPT and AI create the checklist of what needs to be done within your PMS or within the OTA itself. Have that checklist and that strategy so you have someone always looking at this quality assurance.
Yeah.
The reason why I could hear on a lot of people's heads and my head as well, why can't we just do this in our softwares, right? Well, truly, every booking site, every OTA has different amenity filters, and they're
Yep.
always testing and learning. As Debbie said, they have a lot of money where they can test and learn, meaning some days there might be 10 new amenities or 10 new questions that weren't there the other day, right? And it's
Yeah.
not saying that it won't eventually be, but a lot of this is the OTAs are still putting in and out things that are there, and it's just what triggers can be pushed over to a PMS, and it's quality assurance, right? Some of these things are just upon setup and every so often, just make sure it's done.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
that's
they are like Airbnb just pushed a big update today to their admin portal. Like it looks different.
oh
Verb
really?
is lagging a lot, I think, in their ramp up for host for managers functionality in their portal. But yeah, so they're always doing new things. They're always going to be testing new things. They stop doing the things that don't work. They start doing things, they're iterating their software companies. So it's important to look at the property listing level in both of these channels and don't rely on just the information coming from your PMS.
Agreed. And I say that my whole time I worked at Verbo, I mean, I worked with mostly integrated property managers, right? And I mean, I hadn't even logged into a dashboard and they don't, but it's very important that you are still keeping yourself informed, logging in, seeing what's going on. And maybe if you're the CEO of like a, 500 plus company, it's not you, right? It's
Mhm.
somebody else and that's reporting to you, but it's just important to keep a tab on all these features.
Yeah.
So,
And here, I just want to go on the GTP thing for a
oh
second
yeah.
about checklist. So SOPs and checklists for whether you're doing it yourself and you want to make sure you don't forget anything, or you have a team that is doing your optimization for your listings. If you like, GTP is one of the best tools to build processes for
Mm-hmm.
you, and to then make checklists so then you can distribute that out to your team or keep it on your desktop if it's for you, or put it in Asana, whatever it is you want to do. But the only, the thing about GTP is the more you put into it, the better what you get out of it. So you can't rely on it to use its Bing web browsing to give you a checklist for
Yeah.
current Airbnb steps for
We should
optimization.
also say, like,
Mhm.
everything we are telling to you to do should not be doing with the free GPT, right? You need to pay
Never,
for,
yeah,
never
yeah,
like Debbie and I were like, I think I had like the $20 a month. We have, I mean, because of Debbie, I went and spent hours setting mine up so it can respond to almost any question or help I need with. Like,
mhm.
we're not going into blank space.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole nother separate thing about GTP. I've built custom GTPs for my team depending on what they do. So like the reviews team has a GTP, optimization has a GTP, and then we have it for other things too, so that and we have the team one so people can see across each other's chats. Uh,
Mhm.
but the more information you put into it, like your guidelines for how you write your descriptions and how you do your headlines, you put it all in there. And then you say, like, how can I make this better? And then one of the best commands you can ever give to GTP is expand. Like it'll just keep going and going and going.
I
And
love that. So I noticed, so I feel like I got nicer. Like now I don't know if it means anything, but now I'm like, thank you. But like
uh,
I was like, can you please expand, or this is awesome. Can I get another version that might be friendlier?
yeah.
Or can I get another thing that would talk better with somebody who English is not their first language?
Mhm.
So and those are things that would normally have taken us hours to go and change. And it's just like, so it's not doing things for us, right? It's just helping us strategize and delegate and plan better.
Yeah.
Um, so we have about 7 minutes left. So let's go into pricing and reviews because I think that when it comes to master marketing on OTAs and what is going to make you the most success of your property, these are
Yeah.
two very important things you need to do in the first 90 days.
I think, yeah, I mean, the most important and impactful thing that you do is get a listing, whether it's on your own site or distributed to the OTAs, performing and getting engagement and getting in reviews within the first 90 days.
And that's
And
conversion, right? This is all conversion, and that's what the
yeah,
OTAs care
getting bookings, that's all you want. So
about.
we want it for the homeowner because then they're going to trust us that we're able to book their property. And the OTAs, both Airbnb and Verbo, give you an artificial boost. So in their search results for some amount of time, neither
They say
have
like 30 to
confirmed
90
30
days.
to 90. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't really know exactly what it is. But what that means is their normal algorithm, which is looking at conversion rates, review scores, and other like host things like response time, response percentage. Those are the factors that they tell us. There's probably some other stuff like complete listing, so like high resolution photos, copy, etc. Um, because you're brand new, you don't have any of those to rank
Mhm.
on, so they artificially boost you. That goes away. And so what you need to do is push to get as many bookings and reviews within that boosting period time so that when your boost goes away, you have reviews and all the other things are picking up your official ranking and they're not artificially boosted, and then you are ranking high. And so uniformly, and I think a lot of property managers do this, and I think it is the best strategy for Airbnb and Verbo, is have very aggressive pricing for
Mhm.
close in 90-day bookings from the time you go live until you reach 90 days. The goal is because you get that artificial boost and it says new, you
Mhm.
put new in your headline,
Yes,
your
also to say, put new in your headline too.
put
Let people
new,
know why you
put
don't have reviews.
yeah. put great deal, new, great deal, whatever. Be the first to stay in this, put that in your description. And then, so you want to get your bookings, make sure you review or score the guest as soon as they check out and leave them a really good review. That prompts them to leave you a review. You need the 3 reviews to help you regain what they take away from the boost.
Yeah.
So if you're responding to inquiries and you have a quick response rate and 100% response rate and no cancellations, don't cancel. Verbo
Yes.
is pushed out, crazy penalties for host cancellations without telling a lot of people about it, apparently.
Mhm.
Didn't tell us. Um, but,
Same.
but yeah, so you want to get those bookings and then let your pricing after 90 days go to what your, whatever your pricing tool you're using or whatever your market dictates. But those 3 reviews will help you, and getting them fast will help you have a successful listing.
And I would always say, one question I always had whenever I worked at Verbo, and I still get it today, is like people would say, how many reviews will hit like my 100% in the algorithm? And the answer is not an answer, right? They want reoccurring current reviews, things staying relevant, right? So keep those 3, right? But don't, if you create a good structure and you were able to get those reviews and this pricing really set for you in the first 90 days,
Mhm.
document that, have someone keep doing what you are doing, right? And you're going to see success. And I see this often. I know I say all the time, I really kind of look in the Airbnb tips and tricks in Facebook groups, whether it's managers or owners in there. But it's setting those expectations of what you need to do to be successful out of that, right? And understanding, right? If all of a sudden you're seeing a huge drop in bookings, like did the 90 days just end?
Mhm.
Right? Have 60 days. Did you get 3 bookings in 30 days and 3 reviews and maybe the algorithms think you didn't need the boost anymore, right? There are things that we just don't know, and it's all testing and learning. So keeping like a large oversight. Um,
Keep a log. Keep a log of what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep a log.
Mhm.
So before we go, and because we didn't get to this part, maybe we'll do type 2. Honestly, I mean, look, if y'all want Debi on here with me every Friday, everyone send her a message and tell her to be on with me every Friday. I would be happy to do it. I miss working with Debi every day.
I know.
This has been I posted on LinkedIn literally the most productive week of in a long time just because I got to do things with you. But let's do a quick like couple minutes over retargeting, right? That's
Yeah.
another thing. Like digital marketing, what retargeting your guests with pixels, what are we missing out on?
hmm So not related to OTAs, except for that, if you have somebody who's on an OTA, they narrow in on your property, they come to your website because they found you because you have a name in the title, you mention your brand, you have your brand host set up, and they're able to find you. They come to your website, but they don't book yet. No matter how people are coming to your website, if they are coming to your website and they don't convert into a booking, you should be retargeting them through ads. You can retarget them through Facebook ads, which is Meta, so it'll go to Facebook and Instagram, and you can also do retargeting through Google. On both of these, you can create a catalog. A catalog is a product for each one of your units. If the user visited that page on your website and they saw your beautiful home, but they did not make a booking, you can follow them around with display ads showing them the very unit or units that they were looking at by having the lead photo. So this is a very specific retargeting, which is like an e-commerce retargeting because the goal is a booking. They didn't hit the goal, keep showing them the ads for a certain amount of time until you just, I would say probably 2 weeks is probably enough. People usually either book or not. But it is, I think, some property managers are doing this well. I think most are not. If it seems overwhelming to do the catalog and show them the exact same unit they were looking at least do visitors to your website on your property management URL, property listing URLs, and at least show them your brand and a photo of an image, a location or a property, even if it's the same one to that whole audience, because the people that are traveling through and don't complete the conversion funnel probably have not booked yet. They might not have booked somewhere else, so make sure you're getting your brand in front of them. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm muted because I coughed, sorry. One thing that we did at StayFi was you were able to take the pixels, right? The pixel ID and add it into Meta so that any of your guests that were going through and like basically collecting when in StayFi, once you collect their information, they go to your direct booking website, right? So they've already hit it. And so it
Mhm.
that's going through is now while the guests are basically staying in your property for the next week, they are seeing ads on your property, minding
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm not staying in an Airbnb and Verbo. I'm
right.
staying in a property management company. I want to book this again and really building that brand and reminding them who you are. So these are really important things. And again, one day we could go back and go further into that, but this is
Oh,
just very
yeah.
informational. Loved all this. So, I mean,
Mhm.
really jam-packed, actionful session
Yeah, that was great.
that I love from this. Debi, thank you so much. If you last bit of advice that you would want to leave anybody with today who, is
Mhm.
like, okay, this was awesome. Really love all these ideas. My brain is spinning. What do I do? What's your advice?
I would say if you're trying to focus on OTAs, they should always be the first and only acquisition of a guest. So we can have a whole nother show to talk about like how do you retain the guest and get your brand. And in order to do that, if it's a new listing, you need to be meticulous and very detail oriented and do all the steps that we talked about to make sure that you can either convert on the OTA or bring them as a direct acquisition. And then you should be comparing Airbnb and Verbo against each other to see how they're performing. We didn't really get into that. And I could give you something to put in your follow-up blog post or email about it, about things to do. But you want to see how each is performing against each other. They are different and they have a different audience. And it's really interesting to dig into that data, see impressions and page views and conversion metrics on each of these channels.
Yeah, I think so important. I mean, it's no different than like, comparing if you're just like a vendor marketer and you're comparing how does LinkedIn and Facebook compare. It's the same thing. It's really going, looking at and staying aggressive. Well, I
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, awesome.
Everyone who's joined watching, obviously, feel free to reach out to me and Debi with any questions. We'll have a pretty in-depth recap for you and hopefully more. Sign up and join for 2 more weeks. I think May 17th is the next one. And as always, happy Friday and let me know if you want to join. Have a great day, everybody.